It's Wednesday, March 4th. In the headlines, the Planning Institute of Jamaica, PIOJ, says no short-term recession likely following concerns about the economic fallout from Hurricane Melissa. In business news, taxi operators call for an increase in fares to absorb oil price spike. Regionally, regional leaders working on a united strategy for the 2026 Fossil Fuel Phase-Out Summit. And in sports, Jamaica's under-20 football team secures a spot at the 2026 CONCACAF Championship. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. Director General of the Planning Institute of Jamaica, Dr. Wayne Henry, says Jamaica is unlikely to enter a recession in the short term, barring any unforeseen shocks. He made the statement during the PIOJ's quarterly media briefing on Tuesday, where preliminary estimates showed a sharp decline in economic performance following the impact of Hurricane Melissa. Here's more in this report from Denita Rodney.
Director General of the Planning Institute of Jamaica, Dr. Wayne Henry, says while the economy has taken a significant hit from Hurricane Melissa, Jamaica is unlikely to enter into a recession in the short term, barring any unforeseen shocks. Preliminary estimates show a 7.5% contraction in the October to December 2025 quarter, the steepest quarterly decline since the COVID-19 pandemic.
Today, we are reporting an estimated contraction in real value added of 7.5% for the October to December 2025 quarter, relative to the corresponding quarter of 2024. This is the largest quarterly decline since the July to September 2020 quarter, when the economy was impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Dr. Henry says the downturn reflects widespread disruption caused by the Category 5 hurricane, which severely affected agriculture, tourism, transport, and utilities. However, he notes the outturn was better than initially projected.
It should be noted, however, that this estimated outturn of 7.5% contraction is better than initially projected immediately after the passage of the hurricane, when the economy was forecast to decline within the region of 11% to 13%. This is attributed to the better than initially anticipated outturn of some industries, partially reflecting the resilience and industriousness of businesses and individuals in rebuilding following the shock.
With another year-on-year contraction expected in the current quarter, concerns have been raised about a possible recession, but Dr. Henry explains that Jamaica does not yet meet the technical definition.
Let me provide some clarity on this issue. A recession is defined as a contraction in the business cycle, indicating a significant slowdown in economic activity. Generally, as a rule of thumb, it is considered that 2 consecutive quarters of a quarter-on-quarter decline in a country's seasonally adjusted real GDP represents a recession. Seasonally adjusted GDP estimates it removes recurring patterns such as weather changes or holidays that affect economic activity, making it easier to observe underlying GDP growth trends across consecutive quarters.
He says growth was recorded in the first 3 quarters of 2025, and while the October to December quarter is expected to show a contraction, the economy is projected to rebound in the January to March 2026 period.
However, given the strength of the recovery to date, it is unlikely that the output level for the January to March 2026 quarter will fall below the level recorded in October to December 2025. That is, we are projecting quarter-over-quarter growth in January to March 2026 relative to October to December 2025.
The PIOJ maintains that although short-term prospects remain challenging, current indicators suggest Jamaica will avoid a technical recession once recovery momentum continues. Reporting for the news on PBCJ, I am Danita Rodney.
The Ministry of Tourism has unveiled a $16.8 billion budget for the 2026-2027 fiscal year, in a major push to strengthen Jamaica's tourism sector. The allocation, outlined in the latest estimates of expenditure, is aimed at boosting both local and foreign investment, while positioning Jamaica as the Caribbean's premier travel destination. Officials say the funding will support marketing, product development, and infrastructure improvements. We continue our look at the details in Part 2 of this Estimates of Expenditure feature from the Jamaica Information Service.
Cost. As the ministry continues to develop Jamaica's unique and cultural assets, the government has allocated $7.4 billion to this cause. There are plans to transform and improve spaces for the purposes of boosting tourism, with several projects to benefit from the little over $2 billion dedicated for this purpose. And the agency responsible for coordinating and implementing activities to enhance the tourism product, the Tourism Enhancement Fund TEF, will use $1.4 billion for its various initiatives. Activities supporting maintenance and repairs to areas such as public beaches and road attractions will be pursued with $1.4 billion in funding. The Tourism Product Development Company Limited TPDCO will have $1.296 billion to aid in its goal of developing and improving the island's tourism product. A sum of $437 million will go towards investments in small, medium loan facilities that target startups, artisan villages, and community tourism activities. $250 million will be spent on the work to monitor standards at all tourism entities. The body which trains and certifies students and workers, Jamaica Center for Tourism Innovation, is getting $200 million for support activities. And the government will be spending $155 million on tourism linkages network, involving health and wellness, shopping, knowledge, sports, entertainment, and gastronomy.
When we started to talk seriously about gastronomy tourism, we were fully aware of the value of it as a product. What we wanted to do was to explore the wide, vast universe of gastronomy and to extract from it all that is required to make this destination the most delightful place on planet Earth.
To increase the demand and supply of more Jamaican products, the government is spending $88 million. And $62.5 million is projected for the processing of licenses and all motor vehicle concessions issued for vehicles used within the sector. The remaining $1.5 billion of the overall budget will support executive and administrative functions within the ministry. The Ministry of Tourism, with its new target of 8 million visitors and earnings of $10 billion by the year 2030, is moving closer to the goal with the budget of $16.8 billion to drive the sector forward in the fiscal year 2026-2027.
We want to make the next 5 years the year of serious growth, development, inclusive tourism, and a new vista for involvement of the local Jamaicans in the rich, lucrative, and elongated value chain of tourism.
The Caribbean Examinations Council is set to host its first inaugural regional education conference and the ministerial forum in Jamaica later this month. The event will bring together more than 300 stakeholders from across the Caribbean, including ministers of education, to examine teaching, learning, and assessment in the digital age. The conference has been endorsed by Education Minister Dr. Dana Morris-Dixon, who is expected to deliver a keynote address. She says the forum aligns with Jamaica's Transformation Education for National Development Strategy, which places a strong emphasis on integrating information and communications technology into the education system. Originally scheduled for October last year on the island's north coast, the event was postponed following the passage of Category 5 Hurricane Melissa. The expansion of the University Hospital of the West Indies is set to move forward this year, with construction to begin on a new state-of-the-art medical tower. More than $1 billion has been allocated for the project in the 2026-2027 estimates of expenditure, now before the House of Representatives. Under the project, the hospital's ring road has already been rerouted, a new parking area completed, and procurement started to engage a contractor for the 6-story tower. Funding will also support the hiring of a consultancy firm to guide the development. Time now for the business report with Denise Williams.
Welcome to today's business report. I'm Denise Williams, bringing you the developments shaping markets, capital access, and business decision-making across Jamaica and the region. Let's get into the stories that matter. Egerton Newman, president of the Transport Operators Development Services, is warning the commuting public to brace for an increase in fares because of the increase in the price of fuel and accessories due to the current war between USA, Israel, and Iran. He also pointed out to RJR News that the transport sector is still waiting on the 16% fare hike promised by the government 2 years ago, while indicating that an application for another fare hike is now due. He said he will be meeting with Transport Minister Darrell Vaz on Thursday. The transport sector accounts for approximately 8% of GDP. 3 companies listed on the stock exchange released financial results. First up, Sagicor Group Jamaica reports an increase in profits for the year ending December 2025. The company posted net profit of $16.22 billion, a 75% jump over what was earned in 2024. Group President and Chief Executive Officer Christopher Zaka says the performance reflects stronger core earnings, growth across major business lines, and a recovery in the investment portfolio. Next, Tropical Battery says it has returned to profitability after posting double-digit revenue growth for the 2025 financial year. The energy solutions provider moved from a $102.9 million loss in the same period last year to a $51.7 million net profit this quarter. Revenue increased 6.2% to $1.6 billion, while gross margin expanded to 40.6%. And finally, Grace Kennedy reported solid revenue growth for the year ended December 31, with top-line earnings rising to 177.8 billion Jamaican dollars, an increase of 6.4% over 2024. The group said the performance reflects the resilience of its diversified business model, strong brand portfolio, and continued expansion across international markets. For the trading period of March 3, 2026, the most actively traded securities were Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited with 3,266,704 units, or 18.68% of market sales activities. Kent Tire Holdings Jamaica Limited with 2,504,473 units, representing 14.32% of market sales activities. Sagicor Select Funds Limited financial shares with 1,715,786 units representing 9.81% of market sales activities. Investor activity remained concentrated in transportation, media, and financial management plays, signaling continued interest in dividend-producing and strategic assets. Turning to the foreign exchange market based on Bank of Jamaica data for March 3, 2026, Forex traders recorded significant activity with strong demand across major currencies. For the US dollar, trading margins reflected steady liquidity, with the US selling at $157.20 and buying at $155.42. For the Canadian dollar, moderate gains supported by $1.57 transaction spreads. The Canadian dollar sold for $112.89 and was bought for $114.46. For the British pound, continued volatility offered short-term trading opportunities of 90 cents in profits for the banks. The British pound sold for $208.11 and was bought for $209.01. These movements underscore the importance of cash flow timing and currency awareness for businesses managing import costs, debt servicing, or overseas exposure. For our credit report tip of the day, once couples understand their starting point, the credit report becomes a planning document. Many couples are thinking about major financial moves such as buying a home, starting a business, purchasing vehicles, investing, expanding family responsibilities. And yet lenders evaluate risk, consistency, and financial stability. By reviewing the report together, couples can identify which debts should be reduced first, which accounts should remain open to strengthen credit history, how to improve credit scores strategically, what financial milestones must be reached before applying for funding. So instead of reacting to a bank's decision, couples can prepare for it. The credit report helps shift the mindset from can we qualify to how do we position ourselves to win financially. This is where couples begin moving from survival-based financial decisions to strategy-based ones. For our funded and focused feature, when we talk about AI as a tool or a department in your business, consider how it actually works to help you get funded. AI can help you write social media posts, create marketing emails, generate ideas for products and services, research what customers want, follow up with leads automatically. Example, instead of spending 6 hours writing content, AI can help produce a week of marketing content in about 30 minutes. This means more visibility, more leads, and more potential sales. And that's today's business report. I'm Denise Williams, bringing clarity to capital markets and strategy. Until next time, stay informed, stay intentional, and keep building forward. See you soon.
In regional news, meeting under the heat of a changing climate, Caribbean leaders have gathered in St. Lucia to finalize a high-stakes roadmap for an era beyond oil and gas. Their goal? To enter the upcoming global summit in Colombia, not as a fragmented island group, but as a singular, powerful voice, demanding a funded and equitable transition.
While a global consensus exists on the necessity of moving away from fossil fuels, a primary driver of the climate crisis, a definitive roadmap for this transition remains elusive. The inaugural international conference for the phase-out of fossil fuels, scheduled for April 2026 in Santa Marta, Colombia, seeks to bridge this gap by addressing the specific needs and challenges of a total energy shift. In preparation, Caribbean nations are aligning their regional strategies. Civil society leaders and senior government officials recently convened for 2 days in Rodney Bay, Grosseille, to refine the Caribbean's specific priorities and collective expectations for the landmark Santa Marta Summit.
To support a greater awareness of the Fossil Fuel Treaty Initiative's aims, the proposal that we have on the table for Caribbean governments and civil society, but also to raise awareness of the Santa Marta Conference. It's actually the first conference on transitioning from fossil fuels, and it's an opportunity for both civil society and governments in the Caribbean to participate at the table to really talk about what their needs are for a just transition from fossil fuels.
Furthermore, the Caribbean convening on a global just transition from fossil fuels aims to solidify political solidarity and a shared purpose across the island chain. As traditional international climate and finance negotiations face persistent gridlock, this gathering equips Caribbean governments with the latest scientific, financial, and legal expertise necessary for the diplomatic process. This technical backing is critical as the region seeks to break the stalemate in global climate action.
There is a massive gap in that and the financing that is required to be able to make that transition. And that financing is difficult because our global financial architecture is structured so that Caribbean governments find it difficult to be able to get the loans that they require, the grants that they require to be able to transition. There is actually a climate debt that global north countries have to other countries in the global south. They have the historical emissions. There are the structure of the way in which our financing is shaped makes it very difficult for us to be able to access that, to be able to transition.
Several Caribbean countries have already joined a coalition of 18 countries advocating for a fossil fuel treaty. This proposed mechanism is designed to manage a systematic, equitable, and science-based reduction in global fossil fuel production. The Rodney Bay convening served to update regional stakeholders on the latest developments regarding the treaty's legal framework and implementation.
The Caribbean is highly climate vulnerable. We've had today the discussions about the impacts of Hurricane Melissa. The cost of that was about over 40% of Jamaica's GDP to be able to pay for the impacts of that. That again is putting us in a very difficult position to be able to transition because we're just adding to the debts and the loans and so forth. So there needs to be a real restructuring and rethinking about how that is structured to support more global south countries to be able to make the transition that they desperately want and need.
The historic Santa Marta Conference will be co-hosted by Colombia, the Netherlands, and Tuvalu. The summit seeks to unite a coalition of high-ambition first-mover nations operating outside the standard UNFCCC framework. These countries are committed to moving beyond rhetoric toward the active pursuit of a swift, equitable, and financially backed global phase-out of fossil fuels. Gina Filippi, HTS News Force.
With hundreds of medical students from Grenada and other Caribbean nations currently studying in Cuba, regional leaders have moved to extend humanitarian assistance as the island continues to face mounting difficulties. GBN News has the details.
The government of the Caribbean Community CARICOM announced on Friday that the region will provide support to Cuba as it grapples with economic strain and infrastructure challenges following recent disruptions. The announcement was made by CARICOM Chairman Terence Drew, who emphasized that the initiative is strictly humanitarian in nature.
All parties recognize that there should be efforts to address the growing humanitarian crisis that's within CARICOM. The Caribbean community, cognizant of its very close relationship with both Cuba and the USA, and mindful of the extent to which the region can be negatively affected, is willing and to participate in any way that will redound to the benefit of the Cuban people while maintaining regional stability. I can go on further to say that the community has taken the decision as well to support humanitarian efforts in Cuba. That I can confirm as well.
This history of hardship has been compounded in recent times by fuel shortages and supply constraints amid strained relations involving Venezuela and the United States. Dr. Ju, who is the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, said CARICOM's focus remains solely on addressing the humanitarian situation. He noted that additional details regarding the initiative will be provided in the coming weeks.
With respect to Cuba and the humanitarian efforts, we are going to respond on the humanitarian end in short order, within a month. We will give more specifics on it very, very shortly, but within a month, we are going to respond in a significant way to help the humanitarian situation in Cuba.
Cuba maintains long-standing educational partnership with several Caribbean states and continues to host a large number of students from Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dominica, St. Lucia, and other territories under scholarship programs. Many are enrolled in medical programs at institutions such as the University of Hanover and other state-run universities across the island. Grenada's ambassador to Cuba, Glenn Noel, in a recent interview with GBN, assured the public that all Grenadian students in Cuba are safe and well. He explained that contingency plans are in place should any emergency arise.
While transport costs has become a little bit expensive, but there is transportation, there is no mass unrest, protests, and we have just, in fact, cleared the container with barrels of foodstuff for our students, and the government has been very supportive.
The ambassador reassured the public that the government will continue to monitor conditions in the country and provide updates as necessary. Deidre Seeley, GBN News.
In sports, we kick off with football. Jamaica's under-20 Reggae Boys have booked their place in the 2026 CONCACAF Under-20 Championship. The young Jamaicans sealed qualification on Tuesday night with a 1-0 win over Puerto Rico to top Group B. They complete the qualifying campaign with a perfect record, 5 wins from 5 matches, collecting the maximum 15 points. Jamaica also finished with an impressive goal difference of plus 28, scoring 28 goals and conceding none. The Reggae Girls secured a hard-fought 3-2 victory over hosts Nicaragua in their CONCACAF women's qualifiers on Monday. Playing on the artificial surface in Managua, the Jamaicans were forced to adjust to challenging conditions but managed to stay focused on their strengths. Nicaragua took the lead in the 27th minute when captain Sheila Flores converted from the penalty spot. However, Jamaica's skipper Khadija Bunny Shaw equalized 10 minutes later to bring the visitors level at halftime. Shaw struck again in the 58th minute, netting her 62nd goal in 46 appearances for Jamaica to put her team ahead. Shania Hales extended the lead in the 68th minute, scoring her 2nd goal in 8 appearances for the national side. And that's the news on PBCJ. You can follow us on our social media platforms at PBCJamaica. Thank you so much for watching.